Viking raids, brutal, fast, and full of mystery. But how much do you really know about them? We've all heard the stories of Viking warriors with their longships, terrorizing coastal towns. But there's more to these raids than what history books often tell us. What were their real motives? What made these raiders so feared across Europe? Stick around, because today we're going to uncover the untold secrets of Viking raids, secrets that have been hidden in plain sight for centuries. If you've always wondered what drove the Vikings to raid, or if you've imagined that their raids were just about taking treasure, you're in for a surprise. We're diving into the real reasons behind their raids, how they succeeded in such unpredictable and daring attacks, and the lasting impact they had on the world. Plus, you might be surprised by some of the facts that don't get talked about often. So, if you're ready to get the full picture of Viking raids and their fascinating history, don't go anywhere. Let's get started. The Viking Age, stretching from the late 8th century to the early 11th century, was a time of intense activity. From what we've been taught, we know Vikings were fierce warriors who sailed from Scandinavia, attacking villages, monasteries, and cities along the coast of Europe. But why did they do this? What drove them to these extreme measures? Was it just for treasure, or was there more to it? One of the biggest myths about the Vikings is that they were all violent, bloodthirsty warriors, constantly out for gold and silver. While this was certainly part of their culture, it wasn't the only reason for their raids. Vikings weren't just attacking to plunder. One, the search for new land and resources. One of the key drivers behind Viking raids was the search for new land. Scandinavia, where the Vikings came from, wasn't exactly a land of plenty. While it had a rich culture and history, it didn't offer the same fertile land or growing population that could support everyone. So, the Vikings looked elsewhere. They weren't just looking to steal treasure. They were looking for new places to settle, farm, and raise their families. Their raids often led to long-term settlements in places like England, Ireland, and Normandy. For example, when Vikings first landed in England in 793 AD, they didn't just come to pillage. They came to expand. They saw the land as an opportunity, and some of them eventually settled there, becoming part of the culture and influencing the area for generations. It wasn't just about taking. It was about staying, adapting, and building something new. 2. Viking navigation and longships. One of the secrets behind Viking raids was their unmatched ability to navigate and travel long distances. The Viking longship was a marvel of engineering. It was fast, lightweight, and designed for both open sea and shallow rivers. This allowed Vikings to attack places far away from home and avoid traditional defenses. The ships could quickly land on beaches, giving them a huge advantage in surprise attacks. They could also escape quickly before any real defense could be mounted against them. Their ability to strike quickly and efficiently was one of the main reasons they were so feared. Imagine being a small, coastal village, minding your own business, when suddenly Viking ships would appear on the horizon. It was almost impossible to predict or prepare for. 3. The role of the Viking culture and religion. Viking culture played a huge role in their raiding lifestyle. Their gods, like Odin and Thor, were warriors too, brave, strong, and willing to fight in battle. To the Vikings, dying in battle was one of the highest honors. They believed that those who died in combat would be rewarded by entering Valhalla, the Hall of the Gods, where they would feast and fight alongside their gods for all eternity. This belief system made Viking warriors willing to engage in dangerous raids, knowing that death in battle was a glorious thing. They were taught to fear nothing and embrace their fate. This helped fuel their raiding culture. For the Vikings, it wasn't just about survival. It was about earning respect and proving their strength. 4. The element of surprise. Another secret to the success of Viking raids was their ability to use the element of surprise. They were masters of striking when their enemies least expected it. Unlike traditional armies, which would line up for battle in open fields, the Vikings would strike unexpectedly at night, often during religious festivals when the people were unprepared. They would attack monasteries, which were often poorly defended but rich in treasures. The monks who lived there didn't know how to fight, so the Vikings could easily take what they wanted. This gave the Vikings a huge advantage over more established military forces. They weren't looking for pitched battles. They were looking for easy targets where they could loot quickly and escape without much resistance. 5. The myth of the savage Viking. Over time, the Vikings earned a reputation as savages. Their brutal raids, burning towns, stealing treasures, and killing everyone in their path are well documented. But this image of the Vikings as purely savage raiders doesn't tell the whole story. In truth, the Vikings were skilled traders, explorers, and settlers. Many of them established peaceful relationships with the people they raided and eventually integrated into local communities. For instance, the Vikings who sailed in part of Ireland and England didn't just bring destruction, they also brought new ideas, technologies, and innovations. The Vikings helped shape the cultures they came into contact with, blending their customs with local traditions. 6. Viking influence on Europe. Viking raids didn't just impact the places they attacked. They left a lasting legacy on Europe. Take England, for example. The Viking raids in the 9th and 10th centuries led to the formation of the Danelaw, a region of England that was under Viking control. This area became a melting pot of Viking and Anglo-Saxon cultures, with lasting effects on language, governance, and society. The Vikings also influenced European politics. They were expert strategists and knew how to use diplomacy to their advantage. They would often form alliances with local rulers or use marriage as a way to solidify their power. The Vikings didn't just come to conquer. They came to shape the world they entered. 7. The end of the Viking Age. The Viking raids gradually slowed down by the 11th century. The reasons for this decline are complex. Over time, European kingdoms became stronger, and local rulers were better prepared to defend against Viking raids. Viking settlements also became more integrated into local societies, meaning there was less need for raiding. In addition, internal divisions within Viking society, as well as the spread of Christianity, had a significant impact. The Vikings began to settle down and adopt more peaceful ways of life, no longer relying on raids as their primary source of wealth and power. The Viking raids were more than just violent invasions. They were the beginning of a new era in European history. From their exploration of distant lands to their powerful influence on the cultures they encountered, the Vikings reshaped the world in ways that are still felt today. The true story of their raids is complex, driven by a need for new land, resources, and the adventurous spirit that defined their culture. What made the Vikings stand out wasn't just their ability to conquer, but their intelligence, adaptability, and vision for the future. They weren't simply plundering. They were seeking opportunity to grow, to connect, and to leave a lasting impact on the world. As we've seen, they were not just warriors, but also traders, settlers, and explorers, playing key roles in the development of the regions they entered. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the Viking legacy is how they've been remembered. The myth of the savage Viking raider often overshadows the rich contributions they made to European culture. Through their raids, the Vikings left behind a unique blend of cultures, languages, and traditions that became the foundation for many modern nations. The Viking spirit of exploration and expansion still inspires today. Their navigation skills, warrior culture, and lasting impact on history are stories worth knowing. If this video changed your view on Viking history, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.